All right. Moving away from the game of the week, we're going to go ahead and hit up our heat check where we check in with the hottest players around the NFL. That's going to be the defensive side, the offensive side, and a special spotlight for the rookies this year. We highlight 3 rookies, 1 offensive player, 1 defensive player a piece. And then we also give small shout outs. We don't go into depth with a lot of the guys, but just a couple of shout outs here and there. Because especially this week, the performances were up on every single side of the ball, defense or offensive side. It was hard to pick, honestly. I came down to like 3 names on every single one, but it was hard to pick just one name out of each one of them. Let's go ahead and start out with the offensive side of the ball. And Drew, for your offensive player of the week, your hottest offensive player of the week, where are you going?
Well, I wanted to do something a little different.
Okay.
And there was a certain wide receiver for a certain New York Jets team that I wanted to highlight because then I could talk about the team they beat. But I figured I'd spare you on that. So I decided to go with Jackson Smith-Njigba just because I'm not sure on how many different segments that we have on our podcast where we're going to mention a Jackson Smith-Njigba the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I think it's much more likely that if he gets mentioned again on this podcast, it's for a doghouse segment than anything else.
Right.
But he went nuts, and I don't have good enough glasses on, so I got to grab my piece of paper. But
7 receptions, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I've written down too.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, he just went absolute nuts, and they lost. But frankly, when you have a performance like this, that loss isn't on you. So I just wanted to highlight him because it was a super wow week from a player that we have not mentioned or has even really been on the radar lately. And there was so much hype about him coming out of college, and then they drafted him to a team that already had 2 established stars in front of him. It's like, what are we doing here? But clearly there's some talent there. So
absolutely. And I'm going to go ahead and go with a running back out of New Orleans, 29 carries, 155 yards, 6 receptions for 60 yards. Alvin Kamara, as piss poor as that organization is and the absolute collapse and disarray that it's in, which we will be talking about today, Alvin Kamara is not one to be blamed. The nonchalant king just feels like he's jogging constantly and never really puts in any effort. He balled out. So you definitely have to give it to him, I think, because, like I said, definitely not on him. Anyone did you want to shout out real quick before we moved on?
Obviously Garrett Wilson. Everybody saw that catch.
Yeah.
Everybody, he looked like the Jordan logo. Mm-hmm. And that was badass. And
so much to the point where Adidas had to put out a statement because of it. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. I'm gonna look it up though.
Yeah, Adidas put out a statement talking about like he's not going anywhere and whatnot because he literally looked like the Jumpman logo. I mean, if you look like it so much that your partnership has to put out a statement about it, it was pretty fucking good. While Drew looks that up, I'm gonna shout out a couple of guys. Got to go with Quentin Johnston. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Quentin Johnston, 4 receptions, 118 yards, and a touchdown. He's had flashes throughout the year of looking like a much better wide receiver than he did last year. And then the other guy I want to shout out to is a guy that I had pretty high up on my wide receiver board 2 years ago, pre-podcast or anything like that. Cedric Tillman, 6 receptions, 75 yards, and touchdown. Just he's coming into his own finally, week in, week out. 2 weeks ago, I believe he had 2 touchdowns. This week, he's doing his own thing again. I just wanted to kind of give a shout out on the podcast. If you don't know the name Cedric Tillman, keep an eye out for it. I was super high on him coming out of college. I think I had him in my top 6 or 7. And he's finally doing something on that team. So just again, keep an eye out for someone like that. Did you find it?
Yeah, he can jump, man. That's good stuff. Speaking of jump, did you see the Saquon Barkley play?
Oh, I'll get into it later.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, definitely. I saved that for later.
Because Nike made that into an ad.
Yeah, dude.
So
nuts.
All right. He's washed though. I mean, he's just as good as Dalvin Cook, right?
Yeah, just about. I didn't say that. So let's clear the air on that one. I was not on that board. Do not put me in that boat at all. All right, let's move off of the offensive players and then move into the defensive players now. I can go ahead and get it started. I think there was 3 guys to shout out. A couple guys with a ton of sacks in just one game. Another guy who just terrorized the Cowboys. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the guy who terrorized the Cowboys because I think it's a little bit more fun to shout him out. Caden Ellis.
I agree.
13 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for a loss, 3 quarterback hits. So he's all over the place. He really showed his dominance. If you watch the game, he was shouted out multiple times by the commentators, the broadcaster. So he played well. So I think it's fun to shout him out. But the other 2 guys, they definitely deserve the award or the spot as well. So Drew, where are you going first? And then if you don't go with either one of those guys, we'll definitely shout out the other one.
We can't. I mean, I'm okay with just sticking with what you just said. I'm trying to come out here and basically highlight any player that puts it to the Cowboys.
But trying to find another one.
I mean, obviously, what Trey Hendrickson did this week was pretty freaking impressive.
Yep, 4 sacks, a pass
4
deflection,
sacks,
7 quarterback hits.
That's just stupid.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm a sack guy. I love sacks.
You do. You love sacks.
I love big sacks. I don't love pressures. I hate pressures. No. Turn those pressures off. I don't want pressures. I love sacks.
Yep, sacks and D. There we go.
D and sacks.
There
and when the sacks when good D leads to the sacks, I love it. So if you put this on TikTok, I'm quitting. It's okay for the live podcast, but if you make my bitch ass go viral because what I said that when good D leads to the sack, I love it. Listen, everybody knows that good coverage leads to sacks, okay? Good D leads to sacks. It's just a fact of the life. So whatever. Clip me if you want. I don't care.
I might have to. Now that you say you don't care. So is that who you're highlighting is Trey Hendrickson?
Bro, we got good D sacks on this. We got Diddy domination on this. I am on a roll, and I haven't even started drinking yet. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Trey. 4 sacks is a stupid. It's like that game Khalil Mack had last year. It's just that's a game changing effort on. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and then Myles Garrett had 3 sacks and a half, so shout out to him. Amani Hooker had 5 tackles, 2 picks, 3 pass deflections, a quarterback hit. So a couple of really good performances, but like I said, Caden for me, Trey for Drew, and then shout out to Myles because he definitely deserves to be up there as well. Before we move off of the defensive players, do you have anyone to shout out, or are you ready to move on to those rookies?
Let's go to the rookies.
All right, let's go ahead and go there. So why don't you go ahead and get us started off? Start with your first one. Who are you going with for one of your top rookie performances?
I kind of want to talk about Drake May.
Yeah,
just because we haven't got a chance yet, and we can rebrand the podcast, the Jaden Daniels podcast, if we want to.
Yeah,
but
we definitely can.
At some point, it's the Jaden Daniels and Brock Bowers show coming to you live from Sacramento, California, right?
Yep.
I think we've talked about those guys enough, so I want to talk about Drake May. Not so much the stats, not so much losing to a god-awful team in the Titans, but just watching it. Just his pocket presence, the ability with the feet. Well, one of the things that really captivated me in the lead up to the draft where the 49ers took Trey Lance was every time Trey Lance ran, he had his eyes up and he was looking downfield. And I really thought that he could be successful in the league because if you're scrambling, looking to pass, as opposed to like a Colin Kaepernick thing where you're just trying to escape and get out of there, Russell Wilson runs in circles behind the line of scrimmage and then hits a 60-yard bomb. And I love that in quarterbacks that are mobile.
Yeah, definitely.
Lamar, when he goes, he takes off, right? Which is cool too if you could do it like Lamar. But Drake May keeping his eyes up downfield. I thought he played a game that should make Patriots fans excited going forward.
Yeah, I am right there with you. You and I both know how much of a Drake May stan I was leading up to the draft and afterwards as well, and how much I enjoyed watching his play. His tape was excellent. I really enjoyed all of it. So seeing him actually being able to play and come into his own is fun. it's just, you and I have already had this conversation. If you watch the podcast, it's unfortunate he's being thrown into the situation as bad as it is right now. But he is making the best as that he can. He went 29-41, 206 yards. Then he had 1 touchdown, 8 carries for 95 yards on top of that. A lot of scrambling around because of how awful that Patriots offensive line is. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave one of these defensive guys for you just in case you want to shout him out. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with Cam Kinchens. You got a pick and you got a pick 6 on top of that. So 2 picks, one of them being a pick 6. I think he had 103. Was that what the number was? 103 return yards off of that. So shout out to him because he sealed the game for him. But again, on top of that, he scored a touchdown for the Rams. And that game it went to overtime, but it went 26-20, I believe was the final score. So essentially you take that pick 6 off the board, the game's done. It's not a game no more. It doesn't go into overtime. Geno wins the game before it even gets to that point. So again, pick 6 gets you the score up and the game sealing interception on top of that. Definitely deserve a spot for the rookie performances. You may even probably had a good spot for the defensive player of the week on top of that as well. What about your number 2?
I want to take this moment to talk about Rome because we were very high on Rome, and I think Malik Neighbors is second in the league in targets, and he missed 2 games. That's just absolutely stupid.
Yep.
And so Malik Neighbors did the Malik Neighbors thing. Somebody got to get him a real quarterback, or the 49ers should trade for him. That'd be cool too. Gosh, could you imagine? Rome, 5 catches, 100 yards. He broke out. Obviously, the Bears did not look good against the Cardinals, which is super disappointing because the Cards are in my division. And I kind of felt like Caleb was headed the right way. And the reason why I picked Rome is because I want to talk about his running mate there. Walked off the field in the middle of a play. Caleb, did you see this?
I did not.
I'm going to pull it up, so you should name your guy.
I'll name my number 2. It's going to be Braden Fisk, 4 tackles, 2 sacks, another Rams player. I am a big Braden Fisk guy. I was big on him coming out of the draft. So anytime we got one of these opportunities to shout out one of my guys, I'm definitely going to jump on it as fast as I can. But again, 4 tackles, 2 sacks. That is sack number 2 and 3 for him on the year. So he's playing extremely well. That entire very young Rams defensive line is playing very well. I'm sure a Mr. Jared Verse is going to get a shout out sometime later on in the podcast as well. So, but outside of that, Drew, have you found it, or do you want me to shout out my last guy?
How much of a clip of on-field play can I play without us getting in trouble?
I think because we're on it, I think it's free use. We're commenting over it.
Okay, so, yeah, I'm just gonna play this.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if you can if you catch it.
Wants to know what they need from him. Play clock winding down. They get the snap off. Williams trying to line up a receiver, and Williams gets away off the spin move. Williams is still alive. This feels like Jaden Daniels last week. Williams guns it. Incomplete. Looking for Keenan Allen. Wants to know.
I don't know if you saw it, but he just walked off the field, and it's when Caleb's on the one sideline, and then Caleb comes all the way back the other sideline, and DJ Moore just walked to the bench and sat down. Like
I was just seeing clips too of people breaking down some of DJ Moore stuff. His effort is really coming into question. His speed outs and his end cuts are really, really poor. He doesn't give a fuck. And then we're not talking about like the ball's not going his way, George Pickens throwing a fit type shit. Like we're talking about he's the primary receiver. He's doing a speed out and he's supposed to be cutting hard right to the outside. And it just looks like that's not very speedy for a speed out. It's piss poor. It's not good. It's not good route running. He just looks slow. It doesn't even look like he's trying. So there's some questions about DJ Moore this last week, definitely.
Well, and then Caleb Williams, there's like 15 seconds left in the game. Caleb Williams kind of took a bump on his knee, and he's limping off the field at the end of the game. And DJ walks like right by him and like hit. Like he doesn't throw his shoulder, but the dude's limping off the field. You might want to get out of his way. He like bumps into him. And then they ask him, has Matt Eberflus lost this football team? And DJ Moore, team captain, says, I won't say no. Now, we criticized the shit out of them bringing back this head coach and this offensive coordinator. It's kind of a complete joke that they did.
Right.
But come on, bro. Your rookie quarterback, Caleb's out there busting his ass, like trying to make sense of an offense that's terrible. And
Terrible
you're just
play
going to
calling, terrible offensive line. Yeah.
you just walk off the field in the middle of the play? Like,
Yep. And now he's having it. Yeah. We'll talk about some of that later. Yeah. I don't even want to get it super deep into it. It's pretty piss poor, and it's really disappointing to see.
as I hijack the rookie segment, my fault.
It usually is.
Yes.
All right. What about your next guys?
I am hijacker. I mean, I gotta, Brock Bowers did the damn thing. Ray Davis was good again. You know what I'm saying? Like,
come on, it's your guy. Your guy did something this week.
who?
Defensive end recorded his first sack.
Bro, but then he jumped off sides and cost them. It was a penalty that damn near cost them the game. I can't go with him.
Why not? He also was making the left tackle hold him hella times because of all the shit he was doing. He was forcing penalties as well. Come on, man, you got to give him a shout out for at least getting his first sack.
I was thinking about if I was going to bring up Jared Verse or not, but he might be in a segment later on, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to highlight him or not. So yeah, I'll go with Chop. Shout out to him, his first sack.
Yep. Yeah, and that was my last guy. But just one more shout out to Jatavion Sanders. Had himself a decent day too. 4 receptions, 87 yards. He was highly touted coming out of college as well, and he just hasn't had too much of an opportunity on a piss poor team. So it's nice to see him actually doing something, especially with the Panthers winning. And the upset of the week. All right, before we move off of the rookies, you got anything else to touch on?
No, I mean, I just, Ray Davis takes a pass out of the backfield, like 70 yards or 60 yards for a touchdown. And then Ladd McConkey takes like a slant. Like, it's getting to the point where Ladd is just so good every week. It's just like, oh yeah, that's Ladd being Ladd. Like, we just don't even need to talk about him. And again, I mean, Brock Bowers, it just feels like at this point, these dudes are so damn consistent. You know who's a hella good rookie? Renardo Green for the 49ers at corner. He is Dominic Pooney. He's like one of the best guards in the NFL right now. And I'm not even trying to shout out the 49ers here. It's just like, I can't wait in a year or two to re-rank this draft. It's going to be so fun. Like, because I follow a Cowboys podcast, just kind of, for fun and entertainment purposes. And do you know what their segment was this week?
Oh, no. I don't even want to know if I want to know.
They did a mock draft.
Oh, 9 weeks in. That's crazy.
Yeah. So it feels like there's so many rookies from this class that are just like, okay, this guy's a dude. Brock Bowers is just the second best tight end in the NFL now. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Ray Davis is just a great running back, which the Ray Davis thing is there's certain running back lighting up the college world right now, runs on a blue field. He has roughly 147 touchdowns, and everybody's talking about him as a top 10 pick. And I'm just like, well, but then you get the bargain basement guy in the 5th round. So there's just so many good rookies this year.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.